Welcome back to the First Team. I'm Joe DeLeone. With me is my co-host Ryan Roberts, NFL draft analyst for A to Z Sports. Today we're breaking down the tape for Virginia Tech versus Miami, a game that was a thriller on Friday night. We're not going to be talking about that Hail Mary or the would-be Hail Mary. We're going to talk about instead some elite defensive players for that Virginia Tech defense. And of course, Cam Ward. Ryan, we got to jump right in on Cam Ward. I know that we might have probably actually not many other opportunities to talk about Cam Ward because this remaining schedule is pretty light. But God, I'm really starting to see it all come together. Like I tweeted a couple clips of him during the game, and I had representation from like 5 or 6 fan bases that were saying that they wanted to draft this kid first overall or in the first round. I see all of it. Now, there is no perfection to his game. There's a lot of mistakes. We saw that in this game. There's a lot of mistakes that show up. But the traits and the abilities that he has in the just natural playmaking ability, it's jaw-dropping. I'm all in. I don't know about you. You've kind of alluded to the fact that you're kind of in on him for this draft cycle, but I don't know who else is QB1 outside of him.
Man, I mean, I'm in. I am in. I'm not sure how much I'm in, though. I'm still being a little bit of tentative because, like, Joe, I was talking to someone about this, and I think you made a great point, is that, like, we've seen this from Cam Ward in the past of, like, 4 to 5 just games where you're just like, dude, this quarterback won. And then he has a game or two, which is just a clunker that kind of brings you back down to reality a little bit. So like, I am a little bit tentative with it because I think we saw it in this game too. My guy's got the bozo gene. Like he does the doofus syndrome, whatever you want to call it. He makes a play or two do where you're just like, brother, you can't do that. Like you can't make that play. But then he keeps bringing you back in. I mean, I highlighted pretty much every crazy throw he had in that football game. There just aren't many quarterbacks in this draft class. I mean, it's him, an occasional Quinn Ewers, probably, and like a Jalen Milroe at times.
If he declares.
But yeah, I just think that Cameron Ward is the most physically gifted thrower of the football of anybody, and I think the game has really slowed down for him a ton. So some of these throws, like the first big chunk gain where he I think it was like working against cover 2, or it might have just been man on the outside where he fit it in the bucket on the outside, the touchdown throw later in that game, the seam ball in like the second quarter. Like some of these throws he's making are just high level. Like they're not good throws. They're not standard throws. They are legitimate. If an NFL quarterback made that throw, we would be talking about it for several minutes just watching the game on a Sunday. So I'm in for the talents. I just want to see sustainability here, right? I want to still see a couple more games in a row. If I start to see him just kind of turning that corner a little bit, this could be quarterback 1 in the end. It's a possibility that he could have that type of ascension.
Yeah, it's not like last year where I think that there was a debate for QB2 and there was a clear answer at QB1. There were a lot of different options, and then after that we saw how the rest of the class ended up shaking out, and there were so many guys that went in the first round. I think outside of what you just talked about there, the traits, the arm, everything that he can do, he can hit pretty much any throw on the field that you can ask and call on him to do so. But what really shines for me, and it comes on that one highlight play where he had, I think it was on the final touchdown to take the lead, where he's just rolling out, he's moving, he's waiting for something to happen. And your heart is just beating out of your chest if you're a Miami fan, or if you're on that coaching staff thinking, oh my God, is he going to turn the ball over here? He's waiting so freaking long, and then he connects. That ability to create when nothing's there, that's what's sought after in the NFL. It's the improvisational skills. It's what, Patrick Mahomesian, he is kind of built like him, like we talked with Dylan Raiola. He's kind of got that top heaviness in the way that he's built. But in the NFL, where offensive line play tends to be inconsistent, especially for some of these really bad teams, having that capability to just step away from a play and then find something and be patient to look for a receiver, it's hard to come by. There are so few guys even in the NFL who can do that. BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. Bet online, where the game starts.
I mean, I think the biggest thing for me, though, Joe, is because you're right. He makes some throws that are Mahomesian, I think is the word that you use, right? Like he makes some throws that are just, it's why Caleb Williams was valued to the level he was. But I think that the biggest difference for me for Cam Ward this year is that a couple of those throws that I mentioned earlier were in rhythm, right? Like they weren't all out of structure. I just want to see kind of the in structure be more consistent. And it has so far this year, right? Like I know that Cam Ward can be Superman at times. I need him to be Clark Kent more though, right? Like I need him to be the guy that I can depend on being there in the daylight every day, right? So I think that's standardizing the excitement in the sense of let's build up the foundation because we know the ceiling's there. It's just now about raising that floor. And if we get both best of both worlds, and I do think that this is a not only starting NFL quarterback, I think it's a potentially special one if it hits in the right situation.
Jumping to the Miami offense, who were some of the guys that stood out to you? I think there's players on that offensive line. I think that there's nobody that like really, really shined to me. I know that Noah is lauded by some, kind of gives me a little bit of pause. I don't think I'm all the way there on him. I do really like Xavier Restrepo the more that I watch him. Kind of reminds me of Ricky Pearsall last year, where it's just not a super big player, super shifty, good concentration, strong hands. I mean, that play that he made where on the sideline, he almost bobbled it because he almost didn't seem like he was ready to catch that ball. And then he comes down with it and he's able to make a play with the ball in his hands. Anyone outside of like Restrepo that you really liked in that Miami offense?
Restrepo is one that I did want to mention because I think that he has really grown on me because like he's your typical slot, right? Where it's just like he's going to win in short areas. He's going to be dependable. He has strong hands. But like even just working back to like the Florida game, the first game of the year where he had made that crazy adjustment to the ball where he's basically just parallel with the ground and somehow catches that football. I mean, you saw it in this game too, the one where he was falling down in the game, which I think is what you were talking about there, right down the right sideline. So he does those types of things. I was expecting Sam Brown to pop more because I really liked him at Houston, but like he didn't pop a ton for me. I'd say the one guy is Isaiah Horton, who's a redshirt sophomore, the wide receiver. He's like the 6'4" kid. Like he popped a good amount. Elijah Arroyo, who I have no idea who that kid is, number 8, the tight end. He's not a big kid at all, but like he's listed at like 6'4", 240. He's got more of that 8-back build, but yeah, man, he can move. He's really fluid. He can win after the catch. So he's definitely a kid to get on your radars probably for like 2026 NFL draft. And I thought Damian Martinez wasn't featured as much. This was more of a passing game, but like he had a couple runs, man. He had a couple runs where he shows the creativity on the second level. I tweeted about it today, but I really need them to start getting him more involved in this offense because like his yards per carry are fine. He's flashing a ton. I just don't think that they're not really dominating as run blockers so far at Miami. I think the biggest positive has been his pass protection so far, but Damian Martinez will get rolling at some point.
Yeah, some of the woes, and they're not like struggling offensively, but any qualm for a team that's as good as Miami right now would be that they're not establishing the run as early as they should be, as often as they should be. They had to chase because they were down because of, the Cam Ward experience, the heart attack on the field that you get from watching him. So you couldn't really run the ball as much, but I do agree with that. No one on the offensive line, though. I didn't really write anyone down for the offensive line, but I just kind of check and see if you had anyone.
No, so look, I think that Jalen Rivers kid at left tackle, who's a redshirt junior, he'll either be in 2025 or 2026. I think that he might get drafted late whenever he comes out, and I think he's big, he's long, and he's experienced. So like he could latch on the NFL level, but like he's not a future starter. I just don't see that in him.
No.
Mayagoa, I would say.
Is it Mayagoa or Noah? I've heard both.
I think it's Mayagoa because his brother plays on defense, which I know we'll talk about in this podcast a little bit. But like he's a block, right? Like he's 6'5", he's 315 pounds.
He's a little top heavy.
Little top heavy. He's densely built though, and he's pretty strong and he's pretty physical and he keeps a really nice base. I just don't know if I see a great athlete. Like that's my big thing. I know PFF keeps flashing like no sacks, no hurries, no whatever. I'm just like, man, I don't know if he's an offensive tackle on the next level. Like he might be a guard. There's nothing wrong with that. But he, like for me, it's he does his best work in tighter quarters. Like, I don't think I want him on an island necessarily, but he is definitely their best offensive lineman, though. I don't even think it's relatively close, to be honest.
Yeah, he's pretty stiff, to put it as politely as I possibly can. Jumping to the Virginia Tech defense on in this matchup that we watched on tape. Sam Brumfield at linebacker was one dude that caught my attention. I'm not saying that this is riser in this 2025 class is a big name linebacker, but there was one play where I watched him come downhill and I immediately wrote his name down. This was like the third, fourth play into the game. Comes downhill, completely stonewalls the starting center for Miami, holds him at the line of scrimmage, and then makes a play on the football. Great power. I don't think he's got like the true range, unless I was missing something there. He didn't really flash much after that. But I was impressed with the power that he had. And then outside, of course, I'm sure that you will have thoughts on Mansour DeLeone, Dorian Strong, that we knew coming into the season that they were going to be two of the more recognized names in this draft class. Mansour DeLeone being the higher graded one for the both of us, who is the longer, better athlete of the two.
Yeah, I was actually, I don't know, Joe, like when I watched this game back, I was actually more impressed by Dorian Strong in this football game. Like, DeLeone just didn't flash as much for me. He is definitely twitchier. He's definitely more overall athletic, but like Dorian Strong, for people that haven't watched him, he's number 44, which is absolutely a hilarious cornerback number in the year 2024.
I know, he looks like a linebacker. I thought he was a safety.
It's hilarious, dude. It doesn't look right. It doesn't, but the kid is an off zone-based corner, can play some off man, but he's just so solid, right? Like everything he does, there's no missteps. I was highlighting one rep of him where I kind of talked about his patience. You can tell guys that are comfortable in their own skin because they never look rushed ever. And he looks like he's just calm, confident, and collected all the time. And I think that his long speed is relatively good. Like, I think he's probably a 4.4 high guy. I think he's going to test pretty well in that department. He isn't overly physically, like, he's not densely put together. I don't think he's going to be very good in press if that's what you want him to do. But like an off-man zone, I think that he has starter level traits. I think he's probably more of just a really good rotational player at first. But if you told me Dorian Strong is starting football games in the NFL in a couple years, I would not be shocked at all because he's just so solid. He has good body control, nothing flashy like you see of DeLeone, but Dorian Strong, I think, is just going to be a good NFL player. If I could say one guy, actually kind of work forward a little bit, Kelly Lawson's hilarious because I actually watched him in the preseason. He's number 0, the linebacker that was like rotating in. Joe, he's listed at 6'6", 220 pounds playing inside linebacker. Now,
that's a weird build.
It's so weird, dude, but the kid can run, but he has terrible eyes, but he can run for days. But if his eyes ever catch up to his athleticism, we might have a player there. I think is he a Richard Senior now? Oh man, we might be out of time. Oh no, he's a Richard Junior. He's a Richard Junior.
Okay, one more year maybe.
He's still some time. But one guy that I was admittedly not high on at all that I liked a lot more coming out of this game, Antoine Powell Rylands, the outside.
Yeah, I knew you were going to go there.
Joe, like, he's Florida transfer. He's not a big guy. He's 6'2". He's doing me 240 something pounds. This is only a designated pass rusher. This is a DPR in the next level. That's all I think he could be. I don't think he's going to play on rundowns. But man, his first step is dynamite. He plays with great effort and he has good hands. So in the end, I think that he can have some impact on passing downs on the NFL level. I just don't think he has the complete profile to be an every down starter on the next level.
That's the one thing for me with him is that he's just not built to anchor against the run. And if that stuff's showing up in college, it's going to really show up in the NFL with some big mauling right tackles.
Right. Well, and I was going to add to that, just kind of emphasize that point. I think I saw that he has 7 sacks this year and he has 7.5 tackles for loss, and they count sacks and tackles for loss together.
Right.
That means he has half a tackle for loss this year in the run game, right? So, like, yeah, he's not a run defender. He is a pure pass rusher.
No, but I mean, he'll smoke dudes. He's one of those guys, pins his ears back and he goes. So flipping over to the other side, Virginia Tech's offense. I mean, I'm just going to be straight to the point. I didn't offensive line, nothing. That running back that they had that had a big game.
Tootin's
please
good.
Don't make.
I like.
Come on. Come on, dude. He's wearing a. Okay, I'm not trying to be mean to the kid or anything.
Yeah.
He's wearing like an offensive lineman knee brace, and he was limping on that long rushing touchdown. There's nothing. Maybe he'll get a look. I don't, but I'm not drafting him. I don't think that he's a prospect. What year is he?
He's a senior, man. He's a senior.
That would have been my guess, considering how much of a brace he was wearing.
He transferred from North Carolina A&T, so he was an FCS kid originally, and he's actually from Paulsboro, New Jersey, man. So he's a South Jersey guy. So
there it is. That's why you wanted to give him a love. I will say, I think Drones, who apparently cousin of Cam Ward, was brought up a million times in the broadcast. I don't think he's in this class, but I would argue that maybe next class something could be there. You see a lot of that same playmaking ability, but the decision making is just not there. He's like 2 steps behind where Cam Ward is at the current moment. He's a great athlete though, man. Like he is tough to corral and tackle. Did you like anyone on that offense though, outside of like those tidbits?
I have a star next to Benji Gaznell, who's the tight end, the redshirt sophomore. I'm not saying that I love him or I know much about him. This is literally my first.
No adult in their 20s should have the name Benji, by the way. Sean and I said that at the bar to one another. I
mean, what can we assume it is?
Benjamin? I've never seen a grown man with the name Benji. I'm sorry. It's just, you can't, at a certain point, you got to make a decision there, but continue what you were saying.
Benji, Richard sophomore, is 6'5", 255 pounds, and he had a pretty good game in this one. It kind of just looks like he has a big frame. I don't know if I would call him explosive. He'll kind of more smooth than explosive to me, but like that size plays in the NFL level, so we'll see. Offensive line wise, I would say the left tackle Xavier Chaplin is someone to at least know for the future, but I don't think he had an overly good game. I don't think anybody really had an overly good game on this offense. Did Daquan Felton catch the football, Joe? Is that a catch?
No, it wasn't a catch. You saw the replay.
It wasn't a catch.
It was one of the most ridiculous things great. I said at the beginning of the show we weren't going to talk about it. Here we are. But at the beginning of the show, to get to this, we were at the bar and then like seeing everybody on Twitter and then like tweeting about it and then everyone like commenting on my tweet and like, oh, he caught it. No, you just wanted Miami to lose. The ball was laying on top of a pile of people. Someone's hand touched it for a second and then it rolled onto the ground. That's not how catches work. If you want to be like, well, you can see his hand behind that arm over there and it's kind of on the... No, man, if you have to make that argument, it's not a touchdown.
No, it was 100% not a touchdown. I agree completely. As soon as I saw the first replay, I'm like, why is this taking so long? Like, that's not a catch. I don't understand. Quick note. Apparently Benji has a brother, number 12, Steven Gosnell. So there you go, man. Older brother on the team. I have no idea if he's good or not. And then last love, got to send some love out to the kicker, man. John Love had like a 56-yarder in this game, brother.
Yeah, give him some love. I want to know though the with Cam. I need to look this up. Kyron Drones. Are they actually cousins? Okay, they are cousins. There was an article written about this 5 days ago.
I don't think Kyron Jones is a guy, man. I think he's a good college player. I don't think he's a. I don't think.
I think that there's tools there. I just don't think it's so far away from coming to fruition.
And also he plays for Virginia Tech, so I mean it's not going to get developed either way. So I don't even know why we're even talking about. I mean, Hendon Hooker is a great example of that, Joseph. It's a great example. I mean,
he gave me this can of beans.
They still
Hendon Hooker.
I forgot that you had that can of beans. Kyron Jones. They do the same things with Kyron Jones. I know it was a different coaching staff, but like they did the same thing with Kyron Jones that they did with Hendon Hooker. He's just running quarterback power read, zone read. Like it's just not sustainable or translatable to the NFL level. Like it's just.
I would argue that they're misusing him. All right, let's talk about the. I think he should throw more. I really legitimately think he should throw more. There were some plays that he's made.
Got a pretty strong arm. I mean, the last throw, the debated catch, that was a heck of a ball. I mean, there was like a throw like two plays ago where it was almost a completion in the end zone as well. Like he has a live arm. It's just. Yeah, he's just not.
The ball that he had to your boy Benji, he stepped up in the pocket with an open base, not settled at all, and he just kind of whipped it. I don't know. I see the arm, and I see why some folks were not hyping him as a draft prospect. There were a lot of college people that were saying that like Virginia Tech's going to take this next step because of him specifically. Maybe next year, maybe next year, and he's like his cousin Cam, and he needs a little bit more time.
Great. Former Baylor great, Kyron Jones. Yeah, man.
Is that where he transferred from?
Yep. He's a Baylor kid. Yep.
Insanely random. Miami defense. There's a lot of guys I think that could be brought up. I think a lot of them had really bad games. Tyler Barron for the whole first half of the game was barely on the field. I don't know what the deal is with that was. I had two DBs I wanted to bring up though, the two outside starting corners. Number 25, Jadius Richard, who is a redshirt junior, I believe, super long. I thought he was super fluid. Probably maybe more of a zone-based guy, but I thought that the length, the athleticism was there. And then I think OJ Farik Jr. is a true freshman.
Yeah.
Didn't get like many highlight plays, but there was just some times where I was just watching the play unfold and I'm seeing him step for step with receivers. And again, similar to what we're talking about here with Richard, just great length. He's probably 2 years away, but just his frame stood out.
Yeah, no, I had 29 written down. He was one of the guys. I had no idea who he was before the game. I actually did.
Same.
I wanted to go back and look at his recruiting profile actually because I don't remember his name.
What did you find?
No, I haven't looked. I need to still look at it.
I'll look it up while you're talking.
I mean, because obviously, like covering recruiting.
Frederick. I wrote his name down wrong. Jesus.
OJ Frederick Jr.
Frederick. Yeah, that's twice now I've said a kid's name wrong.
You're good, man. You're good. I mean, I literally had no idea who he was. And I was trying to recall back to just when I covered recruiting. I don't remember his name really. So I'm sure he was a decent recruit. But
66th ranked corner, 94th player in Florida, 3-star.
No, yeah. So he wasn't a. I mean, he may have still had a decent offer list, but like he wasn't overly highly rated, which is interesting. But yeah. So, but I mean, he's starting for the University of Miami as a true freshman, right? Which is obviously notable. So yes, you were on the list. I think I had the same thoughts as you though, Joe. Is that like I was pretty underwhelmed with a couple guys that I was hoping to be whelmed about. You know what I mean? Like because I went back and I watched Tyler Barron a little bit before this game, just because he put up crazy
His stats
numbers.
have been nuts.
Dude, he's got good length and he's just got a great frame and body, but like I don't see it with Tyler Barron to that level. Like I remember we put him up for recommendations at RPM and I put a top 150 on him and like I felt comfortable with that, like a third, fourth rounder type of dude. There's going to be some first round talk with this kid based upon production, and I do not see a first round there, dude. I just don't see that guy.
There's going to be so many people.
He's not Twitchy.
When I know
you see Twitch? I don't see Twitch.
No, well, part of my frustration with watching this game is like the whole time I'm like, all right, where's Tyler Barron? Why isn't he on? He was like not in. I don't know if he's banged up or something. I agree with you there. Like good frame and he looks strong. And I think that's why he's got the tackle for loss production and like he's got good sack production, but a lot of it's kind of come from him making these plays behind the line of scrimmage, it seems like. But dude, we know the culprits that are going to freaking do this, that they're going to look at the stats, they're going to watch a little bit of tape, and they're just going to vet their analysis off of that and say that he is late first round pick. It's going to happen. I'm surprised that it hasn't already happened.
It might happen. You know who he reminds me of, and this is not a favorable comp to him. Do you remember Logan Hall? Logan Hall that came out of Houston?
Yes.
They win the same ways. And I actually think Logan was probably an inch taller and about like 10 pounds heavier, maybe 15 pounds heavier, but like they win the same way, Joe. And like length is great. Body type is awesome. Power profile is cool. But like, I just don't see twitch and ability to win out the outside track. And that's always going to hinder a guy for me. Like, yes, there were power-based rushers on the NFL level, but if you're a power-based rusher, you still have to be able to threaten the outside shoulder. And I did not see a dynamite first step. Like the Rylands, the Antoine Powell Rylands kid, right? He is not the prospect that Tyler Barron is because he doesn't have the frame. But I do think that the way he wins as a pass rusher is more translatable than Tyler Barron on the NFL level because he has a first step that is going to threaten an outside shoulder. And then from there, you maybe could work some different types of moves, right? I just don't know if I necessarily see with Tyler Barron. My biggest, and when I say I don't see it with him, like I still draft him third rounds, maybe, right? Like I still draft him day 2, but like first round conversation, like, nah, I just don't think I'm going to be able to get there. The guy that I was most disappointed in, because I loved him in the preseason, I had a second round grade.
I know who you're going with.
Francisco Mayagoa was like, he had some reps at inside linebacker number 1, but then he like missed a bad one on the Tootin kid where Tootin broke it outside for a long touchdown. And
I know the play you're talking about.
There's just a couple
his feet were getting stuck in sand. Like I didn't think that to that point where like I thought that he was going to be a little bit more fluid. He just kind of kept getting stuck.
Well, that's the thing is that like he has good range on film. Like for whatever reason, this was just a game where he just kind of seemed he was getting downhill and he was getting in proper position, but like he just wasn't finishing plays. I mean, that's all it comes down to. But I mean, he still blitzed well. I think he still had a couple of really nice highlight plays, and he's powerful as all heck when he gets downhill. But like again, he just missed too many plays in this game. And that was kind of an issue with him last year, was he would make a ton of great plays and then there would just be that occasional missed tackle where you're just like, all right, fix that. And then we're cooking with grease potentially. If he's missing too many of those plays, then I think that's going to hinder his draft stock, obviously. But man, athletically, physically, that kid's got the goods. It's just going to be now about like finishing plays more consistently, because he did not finish enough against Virginia Tech at all.
Anyone else before we get out of here?
Did Ruben Bain play? I feel like I didn't even see Ruben Bain.
I think he's hurt.
Okay.
I think that he's supposed to be coming back against Cal. They're going to need him to beat the Cal algorithm. So we'll see from him. He's somebody I want to get eyes on too, because he's been super hyped up. Well, that's going to be it from us, folks. We're going to be back. We're going to be talking about Kentucky Ole Miss next. Stay tuned. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out. Leave us a comment. Hit that 5-star review at Joe DeLeone at Rise and Draft. We'll talk to you later.